roof lasts or if the drainage system is adequate? Should they be asking a lot of questions from you during the process?
Yes, definitely. If you're in the middle of a home inspection and you have a lot of questions, bring them out. Most of the good home inspections, I mean, like with us or whatnot, a lot of times I always encourage my clients at the very beginning to ask me any questions, and I basically let them know. If I do not know that answer, I'm going to let you know. I do not know that, but I will do my best to investigate and find that answer out for you. So it's definitely a good idea to ask questions if your home inspector definitely is not already answering those for you. Because so many times we've actually done the home inspection process to where the actual the buyers, I would ask them as we're going along, do you have any potential questions? Any questions about the house? And they're like, no, you're answering them as I go through. So so it makes you feel good when you're, when you got a comfortable buyer that's getting taught about their house and having a good understanding as far as what's there.
You mentioned comfort. Does it make you uncomfortable if a potential buyer is asking you, well, how long do you think that roof is going to last? Did that put you in a place at odds when they ask you questions of that nature, or do you feel comfortable answering those questions?
It is, as far as it's limited, as far as, we can't actually predict the actual life expectancy of any component or item that's at a house, but we can definitely give them a general idea as far as whether or not, like the roof, that there's shingles that are blown off, shingles that are cracked, and fibers are showing. Then obviously, we're going to write it up that it's at its end of its lifespan and recommend it be further evaluated and possibly replaced.
Okay.
With that.
Should the home inspector be able to tell you about the electrical systems of the home and how many amps the service is, the service voltage, and if there's room to expand the electrical panel?
They can definitely give them a good idea. Obviously, that is part of our inspection process.
Did you get education on that too? Continuing education on that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As far as just making sure that the actual voltage is adequate, the amperage that's coming into the house. Say, for example, if a homeowner decided to do some electrical upgrades in their own house.
An amateur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then obviously, those are red flags that we actually would.
You've been trained to recognize those.
Yes, and it is something that we see, quite often as far as, people trying to save a little bit extra money by not going through an electrician or a plumber or something like that.
And they're supposed to get a permit to do that, is that not correct?
In most counties, yes,
okay.
on that.
Okay.
So.
Do you research the permits at all to see if they've been done, or is that outside your realm?
It is. I mean, it's a service that most inspectors, they do offer. But it is something as well that the potential home buyer can do also.
Okay.
As far as with me, if I see something that's a suspicion about that, I always recommend that they check with the county to make sure proper permits have been issued for that. And if not, then correction needed.
Now we drive down the street and you see somebody's yard's been dug up and they're replacing the pipes in the front yard underground. Is that something that you should be familiar with, or what's the situation
anything
with that?
that's actually underground, it's pretty much a limited inspection.
Okay.
Obviously, it's as the home inspection processes, everything is readily visible. So underground piping does usually fall outside the scope of the inspection. Say, for example, in some of these older homes, they might have like a galvanized plumbing going from the street or the well into the house. Obviously, we can see where it comes into the house at, and if we happen to see that it's a galvanized material or whatnot, we can make a comment on that what it could be, potentially be underground, and then alert them that as far as any type of.
But you're not expected to have any idea what's going on underground. That's part of being limited, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How important is the reputation and experience when selecting a home inspector? How does that play into the role? If I'm a potential buyer and I'm really worried about the home, how important is the experience of a home inspector?
I think this is very, very important. I definitely encourage potential home buyers to actually go with friends or whatnot that actually have gone through the home inspection process. Ask them their past experience with their home inspector. I mean, we get so many referrals from people that whenever I meet them, I usually ask them how they heard about us or whatnot, and they would start telling me about their colleague at work, talked highly about you or whatnot. So it's definitely helpful rather than just going in the total dark as far as trying to pick a home inspector, to find out as far as who's got a good reputation in the area, who's done your friends' home inspections, how was their experience. And that'll give them, a little bit extra guidance. And also, just more or less, once you start talking to home inspectors, you can I think that you can get a good idea if they know exactly what they're talking about.
Are there different types of home inspectors, like construction inspectors, residential inspectors, commercial inspectors? Are there different types?
They do have, as far as different services, like for example, like commercial inspectors, it does, they have their limits as far as they're not, quote, tied together, but yet the same company could do that, if that makes sense.
Okay. So there's not any, for say, specialty inspectors that only do one field?
I mean, there are companies that could offer, yes, just primary commercial or primary, residential or something like that. And like with us, we typically stick with the residential home inspection.
And would you recommend a home inspection for a newly constructed condo? I mean, as a condo owner, you're only owned from walls in. Is that not correct? So would you recommend for a new construction condo?
Yes, I mean, and again, I go back to what I said earlier.
What have you found on condos as far as new constructions? Anything that a buyer should be worried about?
And of course, it's always something that's unpredictable until you're actually there. But in the past experience, there hasn't been any major findings. There might be, a leaky drain or, something as far as a faulty wiring or something like that. But for the most part, it hasn't been anything.
Do you test the appliances in condos?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
We particularly go through and check all that out and, their water pressure, and then also, look at as far as for any stains on ceilings and so forth that could be coming from the upstairs neighbors or somebody like that.
Is it better to select a home inspector that is based in that area, that is familiar with the laws and regulations of that area? Or is it okay to go outside the general area to select your home inspector?
Right, that is a good question, Mark. And again, it kind of revolves back to the experience of the home inspector. Typically, most home inspectors do stick to their own regional area. But some home inspectors, they have a very wide, regional area.
Right.
Some inspectors cover several different counties, and I personally don't feel that there's anything wrong with that. And I just think it's, as long as that home inspector is up to date and educated on, the differences in different counties and so forth, and the potential issues with different houses.
Along those lines, should a home inspector be able to tell if an addition is possible, and would that be a reason for selecting a home inspector based in that area who knows the zoning laws?
I mean, that's in my professional experience with that. It kind of gets a little bit outside the scope of the inspection, because obviously you're looking at more towards like a general contractor or somebody that actually is in that field on a daily basis.
Okay.
Obviously, if I get asked that, I would pretty much always recommend my clients to have it, further evaluated by a licensed contractor, and then, you can kind of get an estimate on, if it's something that's doable and so forth with that.
Have you ever been asked to do a home inspection that someone has already done, that maybe the buyer didn't feel comfortable with the previous home inspection? Have you ever done anything like that?
Yes.
You have, huh?
I've actually done home inspections on the actual home that I had already inspected, found some problems with that, and then those potential buyers had walked from that house, and then maybe a month or two later, I ended up getting another client that actually was buying the same house. Sometimes the items are fixed, and other times the items are still there. But I always will disclose to my clients that I have inspected this house before, and if there was something that was there, I would let them know up front that it is something that's that this is what was discovered before, and let's go ahead and take a look at it to see if it's been corrected or not. And then, kind of go from there.
Another good reason to make sure you select the right home inspector,
exactly,
right? Yep.
Very much.
Well, that's about all the time we have today. I'd like to thank Scotty Stevens from Clear Pathways Home Inspections. Remember, we realize we've just thrown a lot of info at you and that you may have questions. If you'd like to view this program again, please visit our website at markrigney.org. If you have questions, please email us. Our emails are listed on the screen below. We will read and answer some of your questions on our next show. On behalf of my friend and colleague, Scotty Stevens, thank you for watching Mortgage Solutions with Mark Rigney. We will see you next time.